You're welcome back. It's still Engendered on Kaftan Television. And in the studio with me is a lady you will all love to know. Her name is Zainab Galadima. She is so many things rolled into one. Well, first of all, she has like 3 master's degrees. She was a one-time counselor in the Federal Capital Territory. She represented Wussein. She has been a technical assistant to the president, worked in the office of the vice president, where she was a technical assistant on domestic and sexual violence matters. She also runs her own NGO. Her NGO is involved it's also involved in gender-based violence, as well as tell us the rest.
Girl child education.
Girl child education.
And drug abuse.
Drug abuse.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else I missed? Please chip it in for me.
No, I think that's about it.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about this 16 days of activism, which is still ongoing now, ending on the 10th of December. And like you know, it's a United Nations initiative. It's essentially to raise awareness, to create, to put an end to gender-based violence, and also to make people, more committed, to make societies hands-on, so that it's not just a private issue anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a family thing. Let's settle it between ourselves any longer. So, so far, what do you think? Are you impressed by how far we've maybe impacted within these 16 days? I know on the first day there was a whole lot of activity.
Not just the 16 days. I would say ever since I joined the office of the vice president, there has been a drastic change. The rate at which people report or come out to say that being abused or being molested is on the rise, and there are a lot of convictions as well. Right. So now a lot of people do not feel shy to hold it within themselves, and at the end of the day it causes a lot of damage, much more than we envisage. Right. So this 16 days of activism, it's increasing the awareness. A lot of people, it's not just people in the low class, even high class people, people of influence are facing abuse in their marriages, in their homes, and people do not know because they have to put up a front. So now a lot of people are saying, look, I can't deal with this, and with that, and when you're empowered, it really helps a lot. A lot of people get stuck in that situation because they feel that they cannot make it on their own. So, and those people are using that as it's like a financial abuse as well, and emotional abuse, so many things. So they use that, to when you're not empowered, they use that against you. Where do you go now? Where do you start from, and stuff like that. So a lot of people are coming, to get to know the way out. Sometimes even without being empowered, they know that when they come out or they get out of it, they attain their full self, what they're supposed to be in life. So yes.
Another thing is that running pari passu with it is that I think 2018 thereabouts, 2018,
yes,
the United Nations Secretary General introduced Unite to end gender-based violence for 2030. We're in 2024.
Wow, 6 years more.
We have 6 years more. Do you think we're going to make appreciable strides? I mean, ending might be a lofty idea. Can we really end it? But do you think we'll be able to bring it down to such appreciable levels that from 2018 to 2030 we could say we've really made strides?
I think so, because technology is like going fast now with AI and a lot of things. So a lot of people are getting more aware, not just on gender-based violence, on politics, on life, on lifestyle, so many things. So people that you thought do not know so many things now are getting to know. That's the thing about the beauty about technology. Yes. It allows you to explore things beyond your imagination. So a lot of people are, we will reduce it to a drastic level, I'm sure, but ending it completely to a zero level, I don't think it's something achievable by that time. You know, sometimes when you close another door, a window opens. So there are a lot of things with globalization, technology, a lot of things, you know, if you're on this stage now, and you don't think about another will just pop up. So we don't know what's coming, but for now we're just concentrating on what, you know, it's in front of us. And
okay, talking about technology and all that, I'm very sure our good partners in the editing seat have an interesting report. It's on these 16 days of activism, so far what we've done right here in the Federal Capital Territory. So I'd really like for us to just take a glance at that report, and then we'll be right back.
Gender-based violence has been a pervasive issue throughout human history, affecting individuals across cultures, societies, and time periods. Gender-based violence existed in various forms, often perpetuated by societal norms, customs, and power imbalances. Examples include forced marriages, female genital mutilation, and wife battering. As part of effort to prevent and respond to gender-based violence is the 16 days activism against gender-based violence and to promote gender equality and protect human rights. This year's 16 days of activism against gender-based violence with the theme Unite to End Violence Against Women campaign represents a crucial opportunity to employ reforms for advocacy, promoting a culture of zero tolerance for violence against women and girls, advocating for the review, amendment, and implementation of laws and policies that protect women's and girls' rights. In Abuja, the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs kick-started the campaign with an event that converged dignitaries from various sectors, both government and non-governmental organizations lending their voices to support the campaign.
And we all know when we talk of gender-based violence, as stated by one of the speakers here, is affecting not only the women, but the men as well. And when we talk of gender-based violence, my dear sisters and brothers, go to the rural areas and see how our women are suffering because of gender-based violence. And one of the reasons also is that lack of education. That's why we also insist on girl-child education. If our girls are educated, if our women are educated, they know their rights, they can also fight for their rights.
We want to pledge that we'll continue to support all it takes to ensure that not just the victims are given a voice, but the perpetrators themselves are shown the justice that they deserve.
Beatrice Enyong, the UN Women representative to Nigeria and ECOWAS, emphasized that gender-based violence has the devastating potential to destroy a country's growth and development. To combat this, it's crucial to tackle the violence at all levels, which she said include addressing the root causes of gender-based violence, such as discriminatory laws and social norms, and promoting gender equality and women's empowerment. It also requires strengthening institutions and services that support survivors of violence, such as healthcare, justice, and social protection.
Another thing we need to do, the priorities, is advocating for the passage of the Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill to enhance women's participation in decision-making.
The United Nations and other stakeholders also pledged their commitment to fighting gender-based violence and advocating for the promotion of women and children's rights. This commitment is reflected in various global initiatives and frameworks aimed at preventing and responding to violence against women.
With our partners, we strive to empower women, strengthen health systems, engagement with men and boys, and foster innovative strategy to instill positive social norms and behavior, particularly within our communities.
Survive the impact of violence, but to actually prevent it moving forward. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as a bank, we are committed to supporting the government of Nigeria through women's economic empowerment. We're committed to supporting through gender-based violence, which we've actually put across our portfolio.
Minister, Federal Minister of Women Affairs, Iman Sulaiman Ibrahim, reiterated her commitment to adopt a multi-sectoral and multi-stakeholders approach to addressing gender-based violence.
Let me assure you that under my watch, the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs remains committed to upholding its coordinating role to ensure that the issues are properly synergized, documented for appropriate policy action, implementation and monitoring to ensure that progress is being achieved. We must remain steadfast in our pursuit of a Nigeria where every woman and girl lives free from violence, fear, and discrimination. It is necessary. It's a necessity for our shared and collective prosperity.
Throughout the 16 days, various activities will be organized, including awareness campaigns, community sensitization programs, advocacy visits to policymakers and stakeholders, support services for survivors of gender-based violence. The Federal Ministry of Women Affairs calls on all Nigerians to join the campaign to end violence against women and girls. Victoria Ayoride for Kaftan TV.
You're welcome back, and it's still Engendered on Kaftan Television. I'm Mikki Attah, and our guest today is Zainab Galadima. She's right here in the studio. Zainab, say hello again.
Hello.
All right. Well, that report was all about these 16 days and, background to it, as well as some of the activities going on.
Okay.
But you know something? A very good idea of where we could harvest victims that could possibly be frontal and come out is in schools. Yes. If not, they say don't take laws into your hands. Sometimes I feel like going to some of these universities with hot iron or something. It pains me to my bones. Imagine giving your young children, your daughters, into the care and trust of lecturers.
Yes.
Teach them, train them,
yes.
And you're giving them a new course, sex for marks.
Yes.
You've got to do it this way. We'll fail you repeatedly, and all kinds of harassment and mental torture. And then who do they go to? I mean, by the time you're going, over to the university to report, the trauma and all that. You understand? So I was thinking, look, a very good place for us to start this would be like, doing some sensitization around universities, because that way we can actually see how much we can measure their accountability. What's the response of a university, for instance, to a complaint by a female student about being harassed, possibly raped,
yes,
about being coerced, the sex for marks thing? How are they handling it? Stuff like that. These are measurable. What do you think?
That's a good idea. But we also do secondary schools as well.
Oh, great.
Yes, we do secondary schools.
Mm-hmm.
We talk to young girls.
Mm-hmm.
But the foundation of it all is from the home.
True.
Yes.
True.
So I think parents also need to be educated. Sex education is very important. Sometimes we shy away from it as Africans, or based on religious or cultural, reasons.
Yeah.
A lot of us do feel uncomfortable coming out to our children and telling them that, okay, these are your parts. These are the even from at the age of 6, children now, from as long as they understand how to say mama, you tell them this. Anybody that touches you here is not proper. Anybody that touches you there is not proper. These are the proper ones. They do it in primary schools now, secondary schools. So these are important. But also as parents, we also need to educate our children. We need to make them understand that you are not what they say you are. We need to give them that confidence. They need to have that self-esteem, right from the home. You need to teach your children to be people of themselves.
Right.
To be so confident about themselves.
Right.
Even when they're being bullied in school by other classmates.
Right.
Don't talk about teachers. We get bullies and stuff. That is also abuse.
Right.
And we need to teach our children that. Mm-hmm. I always tell my children, don't let anybody put you in a position where you have to cry or put you in pain. If you feel like somebody is harassing you, tell your teacher.
Right.
If you tell your teacher and she doesn't do anything, or he doesn't do anything, tell me. I'll confront them. I'll talk to the teachers. Right. I've spoken to teachers before. Mm-hmm. My son has complained about so and if I see that he's still complaining, I also tell, I also talk to the child. This is not proper, in a nice way.
Right.
So there are ways that we need to educate our children. And sometimes upbringing is very important. Sometimes the children see their mother being abused or their father being abused. Because it's not also always the case of the women being abused.
True.
So
I was coming to that.
You do not do that in front of your children. You're not even supposed to do that. Right. Talk more, do it in front of your children. So if you do that, children grow up and think that it is okay.
They take it as they're normal.
Yes.
Right.
It is okay to do it to other people.
Right.
And it is not.
It's absolutely not.
So we need, as parents, to also be, to stand up and say, okay, look, this is how, because now there's so much moral decadence. There's so much, our values have dropped.
Right.
So we need to visit, the
family values.
Yeah, the family values, the book.
All right, but right now though, we need to go on a break. So we'll be taking a very short break, and Engendered will in just a moment. Zainab has promised to be here throughout, so you two don't go anywhere.
Thank you.
You're very welcome back to Engendered today, and like I told you, it's 16 days of activism on gender-based violence. Well, these 16 days traditionally kick off every year on the 25th day of November, 16 days later, and on the 10th of December, and those days are carefully chosen by the United Nations. The 25th of November every year is marked as the United Nations Day to End Violence Against Women and girls, and it's specific, not just violence like rape, whatever. It also applies to domestic violence, slapping, emotional violence, economic, like she was talking about, using your economic power to say, okay, where are you going to go? If not me, you cannot eat, stuff like that. And then it continues on very carefully to other United Nations days, like we have the day for people with disability. And it all dovetails on the 10th of December when we have the United Nations Day for Human Rights. Now, that treaty was ratified in 1948. So every country on earth today has keyed into it. And like I always like to say, Zainab, women's rights are human rights.
Yes.
So by the time these are incorporated and it's in everyone's brains, look, it's not those women. No, women's rights are human rights as well. So that's carefully crafted for that day to end in such a way that you know that, you see, these rights that we're fighting for are also human rights. Now, you made a very valid point earlier. You said that, as a matter of fact, it also applies to both genders, especially the violence aspect. What have been your experiences with the males? Because they are rather very close-lipped.
Yes,
in their suffering.
Yes. A lot of men don't, the man is supposed to be the leader, he's assumed to be the strong one, and then if he's being abused by the woman, it's something like, I can't say it. He can't really come out and say it, because normally they're the ones in charge of the abuse, but then there are some men that get abused by women, and it's unfortunate, but it happens, and sometimes they really do not come out. Women come out more than they do.
So now, what are you going to tell to men like that? Because why suffer in silence? You could get killed the same way. It's the same difference. I've seen vivid photographs of women, and these women are like, tigers.
Some they're tiny. They kill the men. Some they.
That was what I was coming to.
Like
this woman was jumping on him, and then the man is this tiny, and she's this heavy, and then she was coming up at him with a pistol.
Yeah.
So one blow to the head, that man is already
gone.
Gone.
Yeah.
So you can't keep quiet. Be a man, be a woman. You can't keep quiet. Please give a word. Give one pep talk to somebody out there. Might help.
Yeah, no matter who you are, you're a person, and you cannot get happiness from anybody but yourself. Sometimes you try to find answers in other people, but it's not that. It's within yourself. Everything, you are your own person, and I believe that there's nothing, you can't be anybody else. So why let somebody dictate how they treat you? You are what you allow. If you give the foundation that they treat you anyhow, they treat you anyhow. So a lot of us, yes, obviously have been through abuse. Sometimes it's just it's just life. Sometimes you encounter relationships,
right,
even if it's in a friendship, they're toxic ones,
right.
So we have once you
even
notice,
in the
yes,
workplace,
once you sense
Right.
that, that path of abuse, just get out. It's not by force.
Right.
I've told myself, anytime I get myself into a toxic relationship, be it friendship with other women, or other men, or family, or I get out.
Right.
Because your mental health is of utmost importance.
Right.
And we disregard mental health. In this, especially in Africa, they'll be like, oh no, or we don't go to therapy, we don't do this, we don't do that, because we're Africans, we're supposed to be strong and all that. No, it's not. The mind is a flesh.
yes.
And so is the heart.
Besides, once it breaks,
Yes.
you run mad, and then you now become an
And
object
let
of
me shock
ridicule.
you, out of 10 people that walk around in this Nigeria, 9.5 of them are mad.
On the verge, 0.5 on the verge of going mad, like me.
Everybody, we're just waiting for that trigger, and just people will just go off.
Right.
So sometimes, there's this economy thing that people are going through a lot.
Yes.
So always be able to, even if it's by meditation or by anything, just get in touch with your mental health. Make sure you're okay.
Right.
If something is bothering you and you have somebody to talk to,
Right.
talk.
Right.
Others find solace in prayers, others find but always stand up for yourself.
Right.
Always, that self-esteem, self-confidence is very important. And for example, in the North, when they see a confident woman that has a very high self-esteem, that speaks for herself, that is not ashamed, that is unapologetic, they feel like, oh, okay, she's a feminist, and they do not even define the feminism, correctly. It's not about, it's about me.
Right, because
I'm
men
a
are
person.
feminists too. We
Yes,
have
I'm
men
a
are
person,
feminists.
and my feelings matter. My dreams, my whatever it is that you have inside you, it matters.
Right.
As long as it doesn't hurt anybody. So but really, we need to stand up, and we need to keep educating people,
Right.
young children,
Right.
even adults, men, women, that look, nobody has the right to hold you to ransom. Nobody, absolutely nobody. So, yeah.
All right. Just before we went on a break, actually, we were talking about the issue of schools, especially our universities.
Yeah.
Remember, there was this awful documentary that a Nigerian lady did for the BBC. Went undercover, and it was shocking. Was as vivid as it was shocking. And this was like an eye opener. Took the blinkers off us. You want to notice one thing about us: we do not like statistics.
Yes.
So we do not want to know how many. And these figures that we're running from are the things that are swamping us.
Yes, exactly.
Because outside Nigeria,
They use that to create solutions.
yeah. And then they view us as the people that,
Yeah.
that's endemic over there.
Yeah.
And when you look at the statistics, the few that we can lay hands on to, it's like it says 1 out of 11 women is being killed around the world.
Yeah.
Then how many in Nigeria?
Exactly.
Especially in the rural areas and stuff like that. All you have to do is just go back to the back of the forest and do away with her remains. If not for these vigilantes who keep on discovering,
Yeah.
people with bags. What's in that bag? Behold, a battered and beaten woman who was, has been beaten to death in the house. So like we're saying, if you're in school, you want to, there should be mechanisms for you to have a support desk, a report desk, and stuff like that. Well, anyway, the current the newly sworn-in Minister for Women Affairs actually organized a program she was part of, and what will happen, I think we'll just step over back into our editing and take a look at that report where we have the Minister of Women Affairs and others talking about gender-based violence. Let's see what they had to say, especially as it concerns students in the university.
Minister of Women Affairs Umar Suleiman Ibrahim has stated that the present administration, led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, under the Renewed Hope agenda, is committed to zero tolerance against gender-based violence through several initiatives, including supporting the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015 and the June 2020 declaration of a state of emergency on gender-based violence by the Nigeria Governors Forum.
Gender-sensitive policies and awareness. The establishment of gender studies centers in many universities aligns with the NGP vision by providing platforms for research, advocacy, and capacity building on gender-related issues, including sexual harassment. These centers are not merely academic units, they are catalysts for transformative change, They're expected to foster a culture of respect, inclusion, and accountability, and they equip students, faculty, and policymakers with the knowledge and tools to challenge harmful norms and practices. As the Minister of Women Affairs, and my commitment to championing gender equality principles and addressing gender-based violence, including sexual harassment eradication, in all forms, as assigned to my ministry under the Renewed Hope agenda. Building on the foundation laid by the National Gender Policy and other related policies of this administration led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Speaking earlier, the Executive Director, Alliance for Africa, Ioma Obibi, spoke on the need to address sexual harassment in tertiary institutions in Nigeria.
All agree that we hate numbers, but our hesitancy in not upsetting the apple cart with how bad things are cannot continue. To engage in the transformative and systemic change needed in the educational sector, we need to have the data collated and analyzed by feeling the temperature of the universities. What are students saying about their safety on campus? How do they perceive their lecturers?
While lending their voices, former First Lady of Ekiti State and Akin Rotimi, member House of Representatives, said the findings of the National Campus Climate Baseline Survey reaffirmed the importance of individuals to dismantle the barriers of fear and silence and replace them with systems that promote accountability and safety.
It is therefore my hope that our education authorities and the university system will treat sexual harassment in tertiary institutions as something that requires a state of emergency before it continues to ruin the lives of generations of young people to come. All our tertiary institutions need to demonstrate enough political will to show that they will not condone any form of violations against female students, and that they would uphold the dignity and rights of both male and female students, as well as the rights of all teachers. Political will in this context can be expressed through the following: how seriously the university takes issues around sexual abuse, sexual misconduct, sexual violence, and related matters.
Ekiti is a model. Ekiti is a model state where traditional rulers, civil servants, religious leaders, and other stakeholders are all united in the resolve to enforce the zero-tolerance policy against gender-based violence.
The 16 Days of Activism is a campaign supported by the United Nations that calls for action to end violence against women and girls. This year's theme is Unite Campaign towards Beijing to prevent violence against women and girls.
Thank you very much, Zainab, for that report. Incidentally, your namesake is sitting right here in the studio. So, back to you, Zainab. Can you tell us a little bit more about the engagement you've had so far with your NGO, what it's called, and your focus and different projections?
Well, we've had campaigns on how to identify abuse,
right,
or how to prevent it. Because sometimes we're just there waiting for it to happen before we take, So like behaviors that can lead to abuse, teaching people behaviors that can lead to abuse, and then younger children where touch is inappropriate. We've been to schools, like I've organized like play dates and spoken to children on if somebody touches you here, it's not right, touches you here, it's not right, and things like that, sometimes step by step, and then in secondary schools, sometimes, they start to have boyfriends maybe by SS1, SS2, SS3, and most of them end up in abuse. They get beating and stuff.
Goodness.
If a guy, that's how the society has become. Before it takes till you're 18 before you start talking to boys and stuff like that. But now,
I'm sorry to interrupt. Where does he isolate her to beat her? Where does he get hold of her to beat her? Because they're in school and then they'll close and go.
When
maybe
they close, maybe they hang out, they do things. Things happen. As much as we want to deny it, it's happening.
Right.
So if somebody raises their voice at you or disrespects you in the middle of people, or tries to use manipulative, things against you, behaviors, you know, sometimes you need to understand that there's a possibility, or if he has anger issues, you know, he likes to get violent, you know, he likes to threaten you. These are things that you need to be able to identify and then get yourself out.
Right.
You know, or, you know, some people, maybe they'll say, oh, I love him and stuff like that. Then you find a way to make sure he doesn't do it. You know, and sometimes it just takes the one beating, the first one, and then he will beg you. That's always the case. He'll beg you, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, I don't know what got over me. And then the next one happens, and then he begs you, and then he keeps begging, and then sometimes they're so generous. Abusive people are so generous. When they beat their wife or girlfriends, they buy them gifts, they take them out with a black eye and all these things, you know, and they're like, oh no, I don't know what got over me. No. You know, right. And they do not like a woman to confront them. If he slaps you and you slap him back, then he'll be like, oh, this one, I don't know, maybe she has strength somewhere. You know, sometimes, you know, they tend to, if you try to fight back, they tend to be a bit more, they'll be like, okay, maybe this is not somebody I can be. You know, there's so many men out there.
I have an uncle like that. I'm sorry to well, he won't be watching, I know. So, and shockingly, his young, pretty beautiful wife, when they got newly married, he, you know, he hit her. Yeah. And unknown to her, this tiny, small girl that he got married to just jumped up and gave him, there's a little mark at the top of his head. Till today, none of them will tell us what she hit him with. But she just hit him with some boom, and then ran out the gate and went to the neighbors, just started screaming, oh, help me, he's beating me. No. That just settled it forever. Yes. Like you said, you're very correct. They hate people who fight back.
You from people.
Once you're getting isolated, that's a red flag.
Yes. That's a red flag. If they tell you they want to choose your friends, they have anger issues, or they want to isolate you from everybody else, because sometimes we
delete everybody on your phone.
Yeah, we don't look
get off social media
or change your phone number. That kind of thing. You know, when there's no trust, maybe sometimes they're over jealous, over protective, over this, over that. Stay away. That's a red flag. You don't need to go, you know, with that kind of person. So these are things that are, you know, so we do that to prevent before it starts. Get, you know, sort it out. And some, you find themselves, they're deep inside it.
Most of those that are deep inside it. What do you say to people like that?
Sometimes we tell them,
like they keep
talk to them about their self. You find out that their self-esteem is really low. You know, sometimes you try to build that, help them build that, their confidence. And sometimes it is by empowering them, because they're using financial abuse as much as the physical one, you know, and the emotional one. You know, they're also using financial. They have nothing to go back to. So once a woman starts earning, starts doing something with her life, she'll be like, well, what am I even doing? I can do better for myself. That kind of thing. Yeah. So if she's empowered, sometimes if she doesn't want to get out of the relationship, she can stand up for herself, or report him or something like that. You know, and cases, a lot of cases that are being reported, most of the time they settle out of, because they'll be like, oh, this is a family issue, you know, they'll bring all the village people and stuff like that. They sit down and they
you're empowering the criminal.
Exactly. And then you go back, and then sometimes they end up dead. So that, and sometimes if they get out, for example, rape and stuff like that. When I was in the Vice President's office, we created SAC centers, sexual assault response centers, where you go. As soon as the first thing you do when you find yourself in that situation is you report to the police. With that police report, you go to the SAC center in your state. When I was there, I think we were able to set up about 8 to 9. Yes, Lagos had already the Mirabel Center. They're doing great. They do, and there's Dr. Kemi. Also, she's really doing great as well. Her house is Waris, I think Foundation. She's doing great in Lagos as well. So Mirabel was really is doing good. And you know, during this COVID time, a lot of people found out who they were married to. I
know there's a worldwide survey showed
a lot of
domestic violence blew up during the lockdown. Rape went skyrocketing in the lockdown. It was so sad.
Was at a high, and then now, after the COVID, now there is the economic situation, you know, and it's Yeah, I understand that it's too much on the man, it's too much on the, but that's your responsibility. But sometimes they take away that anger on the woman and the children, So that also is an issue. So the SAC Center, they will treat you, test you and stuff like that, and hand you over to the Ministry of Justice, where they assign a lawyer to you, right? And then you go to court. But sometimes from that SAC Center, they just go.
Yeah, that's the thing, because they say, oh, they're so scared of the stigma. Some are so scared because a lot of rape incidences occur with known people and people within the family. This big uncle,
they build that trust.
Yes,
they build that trust with you, and for children,
it's a senior cousin, a big uncle.
Cousin. They give them chewing gum, chocolate,
and threaten them.
Yeah, and sometimes they threaten them. And
if you talk about, I'm going to kill you and I'm going to kill your mother. If you tell your mother, I'm going to kill her.
Whenever somebody says that to you, do not collect anything from anybody anyway. But if you do, and then they try to do something inappropriate, touch or whatever, always scream.
Right.
That's the first thing you do, always scream.
Right.
And now in schools they're becoming more aware.
Right.
You have tracking devices, and in case of kidnap and all these things. So I think schools too are also building up to that direction as well.
You went to school in England.
Yeah.
Right. Was there a whole lot of like here we have our curriculum, which is like the maths, physics, this is, then after school it will be like sports and all these kind of things are not really injected in the Nigerian school system, if you notice. Did you have a whole lot of that in England? Like me, I went to primary school. No, like these pep talks.
Yeah,
extra code. Yeah, these are the kind of things we need to inculcate in the Nigerian system. Yes, in our system.
Yeah.
For instance, I went to primary school in Canada, and after school, we sit us down and tell us a whole lot of stuff: how to cross the road, traffic, this and that and the other. And there was something that struck me vividly, and that was, they said, anytime you find yourself in a dangerous situation, in a situation you're in a panic and all that, always run to a woman. But guess what? Every time you hear like the news and everything on the television, the people trafficking children are women. The people harming, all these people beating their house because are women. And so I'm like, what kind of world are we living in right now? Exactly. But like I said, some of these things, if if you're into education, inculcate them in schools. It shouldn't only be spelling, arithmetic, writing. Then at the end of it, sports, football, kicking. No, you should have that time out where you tell people, look, like you were saying, these and these and these are your body parts. That's how God created you.
Yeah.
Sex education, why are we running away from it?
Yeah.
How can we possibly run away from sex education when how are we here in the first place? You know what I'm saying? So you've got to inculcate that as well. Tell people, if anybody touches you here, over here, no, shout no, say no, scream, run away. No, daddy, no, uncle, no, whoever it is. But you see, they are just doing this African respect thing. And then carrying out with so much abuse. There's so much abuse hidden under these layers of respect. And these are the kind of things schools need to do. But like you said, the primary source should be the home, the family.
Yes.
Parents need to speak up.
Yes.
You cannot just, you don't steal. We don't steal. There are no thieves in this family. That's not just it.
No.
You have to speak up. Like we had a guest and she said, well, what she would want is every father would say to their son, you never ever under any circumstances hit a girl.
Yes.
From there you grow up and know you're never ever going to hit a woman.
Yeah.
So the rest, those who are doing it will now feel like, a man has said this. You understand? Then I better take precaution on to myself. What do you have to say about that?
Absolutely. I watch programs. There's this, I can't remember his name. I have seen them on Instagram as well. It's like a mentoring. We don't have mentoring, and a lot of people now are growing up with single mothers, so they do not have that father figure. They do not have that father figure that will tell them, that will teach them the other side of life apart from the maternal side. So they tend to have coaches, men motivational speakers that will talk to them, you know, be a man, do this, you're not supposed to do this to a woman. A woman is not your slave, she's your companion, she's here to complete you, to complement you, you know, things like that. I was driving with my son just before I came here, picked him up from school, and he was watching on my phone, he was watching a chef designing a plate, you know, and I was like, what are you watching? Because I always check what they're watching.
Right.
So he was like, oh, it's just how they're making salad and they're just dressing it. I'm like, oh, you want to become a chef? He was like, oh no, God forbid. I was like, why God forbid? Why? You expect somebody to cook for you? You know, because I do not want my children, my boys, to grow up with the mentality that a woman has to do everything for them. What if they go to university? What if they live alone before they get married? Who will take care of them? You know, so you need to teach your children, train your children, discipline your children how to face the world.
Right.
You
and
know?
is that ugly foundation that's even causing all the tension in marriages?
Sometimes if she doesn't cook for you, oh, okay, I'm going to slap you.
Yes.
Why? You know?
Because you feel so entitled.
Yes.
And already you've been primed to think that a woman is somebody who's going to do all the cooking.
And we do all that, you know, in homes that the girl is always in the kitchen. Why? You know? And things like that. When I was growing up, I was the only girl. I had 5 brothers. So my father, I get the dolls, but if they get the boy toys, I also get them too. So I had double. I was both a boy and do you understand?
Absolutely.
So, and now I've taken after my father. Most of my brothers, they work or they do business. So I am the one doing the politics, the this, the that, the that. So I took over from my father. So now, and I'm the girl.
Right.
You know, and a lot of people, they were like, oh, we thought you were the only child. No, I'm not the only child. You know, but I do men's stuff too.
Right.
You know, obviously there are some things that I
men's stuff in quote. You know what I'm saying? Because if they were expecting, their boys are going to do all these things.
But I was raised to be a strong woman. You know, sometimes
raised to be your own person.
Yeah, you do
toe your own path.
You do fail, you do make mistakes in life, but still those are meant to shape you to who you should become.
Right.
So a lot of people feel like some women are not supposed to be in a particular space.
Right.
Just because they're women, or they're not supposed to be too educated. I've got like 6 to 7 degrees. I'm on my PhD, and it doesn't. I'm humble, but still, I am proud that I'm able to achieve that.
Right.
But some people will be like, why is she so educated? Oh, she's she's this, she's that, just because I'm confident, just because I can stand up for myself. You know, so we face a lot of these things in life, but we need to go back to the family values and teach our children that, look, this world is not about the man only. You know, a woman is there to complement you, and you also have to respect that. We have to respect each other. You know, for we to be able to live in peace and cohabit together. So
okay, time is really running out against us. I know it's so much fun and there's so much to talk about, but can you give us a little bit about some of the things you were able to achieve on your desk the time you were the technical assistant at that level? You know, there'll be so much you'll be able to do, and so much resources. I am not talking about money only, but people, the strength of people. So you've mentioned already about the desk that you created, and that, I mean, that is a powerful one, because you know some of the victims just don't know what to do. They're lost, and a lot of times because of that sense of dirtiness, I've been so dirtied, they now go and take their baths, which the policemen keep harping on. You've destroyed all the evidence. So once you come to court and go, oh, he raped me, and it's like, he did. How do we know?
But the thing is, for rape, whether you take your bath or not, if he has actually penetrated, there is a way you could find him out.
Okay.
You know, it stays in you for 3 to 4 months.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, that's why, for example, in Islam, when your husband dies or when you get divorced, there's a particular time you're supposed to stay. For the gene, the DNA of a person, of the man, to get out of your system. So maybe we do not have that kind of technology. Maybe they rely on, oh, he tore my clothes, or there was a struggle, or anything. Do you understand what I mean? But just because you take your bath doesn't really eliminate the evidence. And well, that was what we did, because in the north we had in Jigawa, you know, and we were not funded.
Oh, you weren't funded?
No, we were not. We worked with international organizations. We didn't have money. I wasn't on salary.
Yes.
So it wasn't.
I remember.
It was something that we worked with international organizations to set up, and also worked hand in hand with governments, state governments. If you know Dr. Fati Waziri, she's the head of NAPTIP. She was my boss then in the vice president's office.
Oh no, I didn't know
Yes, we worked together.
Oh, that's great.
And she's doing well in NAPTIP. A few months ago, I reported to her about a boy I found in a park that was raped by another man.
Oh man!
And you know, she actually assigned me to an officer and stuff like that. But I think at the end of the day, the father checked out.
Oh man!
But
so, what do you do for funding then for your NGO right now?
Oh well, I just do my personal.
Oh
yes.
Okay. Well,
and you know, talking to people, you just need permission from the schools, you know, to talk to them. It doesn't really take much resources. So you know, that's I prefer to do it that way.
Yes.
So sometimes when I do have enough funds in my hand, I also do the girl child education.
Yes.
I sponsor a few children to school.
But I want to tell you something. Keep on doing what you're doing. The impact you will never be able to estimate.
Yes.
I have met several, at least 3 young girls in different parts of the country, and they said they were able to open up. They were being serially raped. They opened up only when these sets of people came to their school and talked to them. This, and you don't have to suffer in silence.
No.
The very next day, the report, and they were now freed, like they were living, you know,
in
from hell to normalcy.
Yes.
So thank you on that note. We've totally run out of time, but it's been such a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that has been today's edition of Engendered, and don't forget, we are still, today's just the 3rd of December, we have till the 10th, and we're still undertaking the 16 days of activism towards uniting to end violence against women and girls. Do whatever you can within these few days, even if it's just to, you know, even if as you're tuning into Engendered, you're listening, you're getting more information, you're being more aware. If you notice anything in your environment, speak up. Like we always say, if you see something, say something. Thank you very much, Zainab. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. From me, Mikki, I want to say have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Bye.